So, welcome to tonight's session. We are going to look at what we call RAID log. RAID log is a technique in risk management, in project risk management, one of the popular techniques. We have other techniques like risk register, but RAID log is more popular because we capture a lot of factors that lead to risk within the RAID log. But in risk register, we talk about only risk. But risk alone is not the only thing that can hurt the project or cause project to derail from the original plan. There are so many other factors like we have RAID, we have issues, we have dependencies, we have assumptions. So that's why we use RAID, because we can use RAID to capture all this. But in risk register, we talk about only risk, but it's not only risk that is our problems. So let's look at our notes so we can understand it well, what RAID means. We should have heard about RAID before, some of us here. Ego, you must have heard about RAID. Yeah. Am I right?
Yes, sir.
And Zara, you must have heard about RAID too. Even Esther. Yeah, all of us here, because even Amaka and John and Doris, all of us, even in the last, we've treated RAID before. It's not a new concept. So let us not pretend like we're hearing RAID for the first time, all of us here. Okay. All right, we can. Yeah. So this screenshot is just like a sample of how risk register looks like. Risk, but what we are, or what is pursuing us is beyond the risk. So that's why we need something more scalable than risk register, where we capture risk and other things. And that is why we're using this RAID log. We call this RAID log. And this is the dashboard. So we're going to see, we have a template on RAID we're going to use after this notes. So let's start from the beginning. Risk. Why is important to manage risk? And the risk is anything that can cause the project to go, on alignment, derail from the original plan. That is risk. anything, that can hurt the project, have the potential. At the point is not yet happened, but it has the potential. Anything that has the potential to derail the project is a risk to that project. An issue is when that risk has happened. So the risk can be mitigated. The risk can be stopped from happening. And that's why we manage risk, to stop risk from happening. But when that risk has happened, it has taken place, it's now become an issue. And we use different techniques like risk register, red log. These are tools we use to capture this risk and manage the risk. We have risk plan. So using RAID or risk register is part of the risk plan, where we capture risk and assign a risk to somebody to manage the risk on behalf of the team. So we can transfer a risk and we can own up a risk. A risk can be transferred when we hand over the risk to a third party to bear the risk when the risk happens, but we can pay some premium for that. In a situation where we go to insurance company, for instance, we buy a car, we go to insurance company to undertake the risk. That is what we call risk transfer. We transfer that risk to the insurance company. If anything happens, it's the insurance company. But in order to transfer any risk, we need to buy a premium. We have to be paying some amount of money because of that. But if the risk doesn't happen, the money is gone. Other way of handling a risk is owning up the risk. You deal with the risk, manage the risk, and there's no need of you transferring the risk, and that is what we are doing. In this case, we are managing the risk ourselves, owning up the risk by using RAID to capture the risk, and then we as a team, maybe one of us will be assigned to manage the risk. So risk management is the process of identifying, assessing, and mitigating potential risks that could negatively impact a project. Sorry. It is an essential practice in project management to minimize uncertainties and ensure project success. So by managing risk proactively, every risk we manage it proactively. Project team can avoid a risk or reduce the issue that might derail the objectives. So when we try to avoid a risk, we can pass over the risk, or when we see a risk, can avoid it. We can decide not to do some certain things that is risky, that is avoiding the risk. If we are having a wedding and we don't want a rain to mess up the risk, maybe we choose a different date for that wedding. We could say that our wedding, instead of holding the wedding between June and July in Nigeria, when we have the highest rainfall, we can shift the wedding to December, when we know that, yes, we can do our wedding in an open field without any fear of rainfall. A situation like that, we have avoided the risk completely. So, okay. Key Risk management components. How do we manage a risk? The first thing is to identify the risk identification, spotting potential risks that could affect the project, risk assessment, evaluating the impact and likelihood of the risk mitigation, planning response to minimize the impact, monitoring, continuously tracking and managing risk throughout the project. So can any of us tell us any risk? Where do we have risk in this project we're handling, the CRM project, where we have potential risk? Can anybody try? Ego, can you try?
As the potential risk that the sales team might not wish to adopt to using the CRM.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And there's the potential risk
that could be a risk. In our own case, we might not call it a risk because they are the people that wanted this project.
Okay, inadequate budgeting, inadequate funding.
Not inadequate. Before we can start a project, we must have carried out evaluation to make sure we have enough budget. So anything we're planning should be within the budget. So when we have started the project, we cannot say now. I think what you say is budget overrun, overshooting our budget, not inadequate. Inadequate means we did not make enough budget from we didn't make enough budget from. It means that the project manager or the business analyst that carried out the evaluation did not do a good job. But in a situation where budget, a risk can be hanging around the budget, we can call it budget overrun. Maybe we overshooting our budget because of unforeseen circumstances. So that is the better language in budget. But when you say inadequate, means we did not plan or didn't have enough budget from the beginning. So, and you have to differentiate between incompetency and risk. When we didn't do our job thoroughly and we don't have enough inadequate budget, that is different. Yes, the project will suffer but that is out of someone's incompetency. So yes, I agree on budget. Risk is within the budget overrun. If you don't manage your project diligently, following up your activity timeline, making sure everybody is doing their job, tracking all the deliverables, making sure there is no project tax delay or things like that, then you stand on not running into such risk. But when we start having delays, when Mr. John has refused to, or Mr. Paul have refused to submit his deliverable on time, and keep giving reason, and we keep accommodating it, over time, Paul will lead us into budget overrun. not only budget overrun, timeline overrun. You know, these are risk timeline. We have risk within the timeline as well, budgets, and so many other things. But these are the commonest we can close our eyes and spot. Yeah, well done. Good. Do any other one can help us spot any more risk before we move on?
So delay in timeline, delay in delivering key milestones.
That's what we've just talked about, timeline. We already talked about delays, how delays can, you know, yeah. Well done for that. All right, let's move. Okay, before we move, one more question. How do we spot a risk? How do we identify risk in our project? How? How do we do that? Okay, that is where this RAID comes in. In order to capture RAID, we have what we call meetings, daily meetings. Not daily, regular meetings, statutory meetings can be weekly. So as an effective team, it's good for a team to have regular RAID meeting once every week to evaluate the project thoroughly. During RAID meeting, the team can evaluate Mr. Paul. This echo is interfering with mine. So to do that, we should have regular RAID meeting. Through regular RAID meeting, we should be able to spot risk. Spot where we have delays. When we're having delays, where are we having this delay from? From who? If it's a task from a particular team member, that is where the risk is coming. Then we have to find out why the risk is coming from a particular team member. That's part of the mitigations. So, tools for risk management called RAID log and risk register. RAID log or RAID stands for R for risk, A is for assumptions, and I is for issue, and D is for dependency. The RAID log is simple, organized document that tracks these four critical elements, providing a holistic view of project threats and consideration. So RAID here, risk is potential event that may negatively impact the project. Assumptions made at the start of the project could impact outcome of the project. Assumptions are things we assume that it should take a place in a project. We assume. So, but we are not certain. When such things we assume that it's supposed to happen and it didn't happen, it could negatively impact on the project. And issues, current problems that need immediate attention. Issues is when the risk has eventually taken place. The risk we have been trying to avoid eventually taking place, so we deal with it. Issues within the timeline. We've been planning, working hard to make sure we don't go above our timeline, but eventually that risk has happened. The project is supposed to last for 3 months, and that 3 months has elapsed, and we still have a lot of deliverables to go. We couldn't finish. So that is what we call issues. In a situation like that, what we do, how do we do with such a thing? We look for, we write to the management using what we call exceptional circumstances to demand for more time. Yes, we call it exceptional circumstances. If you don't use exceptional circumstances, then you don't have any rights for that project. So you must show that it is something beyond your control. That is exceptional circumstances. When you run above your budget, you don't have any more money left, and there's still a lot to do, you can still, that is a problem as well. It's an issue that has happened. You can equally use exceptional circumstance to address such issues. So dependencies are other projects or tasks or resources that the project relies on. For instance, if we are working on building funnels, building marketing funnels via Facebook, via LinkedIn, and we need to finish building this funnel within a period of time, and we are waiting for this CRM system to be implemented before we can start integrating CRM system, integrating the lead funnels like LinkedIn, Facebook with the CRM system. So you see, that particular integration, that particular sales marketing or sales funnel is dependent on the CRM system, which is another project. So these are two projects. This is where a project can depend on another project. If anything happened to our own project, the CRM system, the marketers building their own funnel, marketing funnel or sales funnel is or lead funnel, building pipes. If anything happened to our own CRM project, you see that they are stuck. They can't continue because their project is depending on us. If successfully deliver, that is where they will have chances of. If our project is delayed, their own will be delayed. That's what we call dependencies. In some tasks, we can have dependencies in tasks within the project. Like planning a project, we cannot start planning until we get approval, until the business case is approved. That is the only way planning can start. So all the planning activities are dependent on the approval of business case. So this is one project, but you see how some deliverables or some activities are depending on the other ones, depending on till when we finish. So whoever the business analyst who is planning to get approval, if the business analyst delays, the project manager who is waiting to start creating project plan, that project plan will equally got delayed. That is what we call dependencies. They are part of things that can lead to risk. When they are delayed, they start leading us into risk and into issues if not properly managed. So these are areas that surrounds this risk, and that's why we can't use only risk register to manage, because there's a lot of other activity that surround the risk that we need to look into. Okay, risk register is a more focused tool dedicated only for tracking risk within a project. It details each risk, its potential, impact, likelihood, mitigation, and status. Key section in a risk register will have risk ID, a unique identifier, description, a brief description of the risk, category, types of risk, technical risk, financial or operational risk, likelihood of risk happening, the probability of the risk occurring, impact, severity of the risk, potential when the risk happen, mitigation plan, key plan to reduce the risk from happening, and risk ownership, individual responsible for managing the risk and status of the risk. So when a risk occur, we open a risk, we open it up. We only close it when that risk is mitigated. So yeah, that is key components of a risk register. As you can see, it's quite narrow, and that's why organizations choose to look for more scalable tool or techniques. How to use a RAID log or key or risk register. First, identify risk and other elements. Begin by brainstorming possible risk with the project team. Yes, that's why we have RAID meeting. And after today, we are going to start having a meeting on a regular basis. Not any other meeting you have been having, is specifically for capturing and managing risk, managing RAID law. It's called, you are going to call it RAID meeting. It's a statutory meeting that should happen every week. So every week we should be able to look into what has happened, what risk have we captured. So that's it. Then document assumptions to clarify expectation that may later affect the project outcome. What are all the expectations, all the things that we expected that should happen within the project? We capture all of them as assumption. And we list issues that have already impacted the project. It has happened. We couldn't stop it from happening. It has happened, but we have to deal with it to reduce the impact on the project. Then we record dependencies. What are the dependent activities? We have to record all of them, as they may affect our timelines. And once identify the risk, we assess the risk. For each risk, we evaluate likelihood, low, medium, and high. The impact, minimal, moderate, severe. What are the impact of the risk if the risk happen? And prioritize risk based on their their impact or their severity. So we have to prioritize all the risk. Which one has high impact? Which one is more likely to happen? Then all those that has high impact and likelihood of happening, there are critical risk, critical issues and things like that. Those who doesn't have much impact, if it happen, it might just affect one team member. So such risk, we can classify them as medium or low risk. But when a risk is happening, and that risk have the potential to affect the whole organization, then is a critical risk. And the probability that likelihood of it happening is another thing. That type of risk is like in an organization when the internet goes out, internet outage. These days, every organization, every modern organization relies heavily on internet. When the internet goes off for one day, for instance, we know what are they, I think when Facebook Facebook was timed out, so it was blacked out for 1 hour. You see people all over the world started crying, shaking. What happened? Just like the world is coming to an end to some people because the Facebook was just down for 1 hour. So these are what we talk about severity. That will determine how you are going to handle such issue. In our organization, something like internet, we have what we call proxy server as a risk management, proactive risk management. Nobody uses that proxy server. It's always there. We maintain it all the time. It's even been at times they give it more attention than the main internet source, proxy server. So any day the main internet source goes off, everybody switch to proxy server. And you find out that we are not going to lose even a 1 hour for just like 5 minutes. You've already switched to proxy server and you continue your work. So these are assessing and addressing risk, mitigation plans. So under mitigation plan, outlines action to prevent each risk from materializing or reduce its effect if it does. Yeah, such as insurance cover. If you're going to buy a car, you need insurance cover. This is to reduce the weight of that risk. We know if you buy a car and the car can have an accident, that car can be stolen and it could be very high. One day we came out just to go to work and we find out that a car we bought like 2 months back just disappeared. We did everything, we couldn't find the car. All we could do is just to, first we reported to the police, we had a car theft. And secondly, we called the insurance company to report that our car has been stolen. And that's it. The insurance company took it from there. And the car couldn't be recovered, but insurance company paid for a new car for us, and that's the risk. If it's in a country like Nigeria, that car is gone and you start suffering heavily. Some people, you find out you might not even have a car in your lifetime again if you lose your car. And you see, that can impact a lot of, hardship to the family, where maybe the car is used for school runs and things like that. So yeah, these are risk mitigation. Insurance is a pure risk management good plan. So for assumptions, document contingency plan in case of any assumptions proves invalid. Some of us here, we assume before we start a project, there is a budget. We assume that we have enough fund. That is assumption, enough fund. So what do we do? For us to make sure that everything will work out for us, there is no way we can use the whole budget. For instance, if we are giving £10,000 for this project, there's no way we can use the whole 10,000. We can start planning on the whole £10,000 as a good project manager. You can't do that. So what do? We can say, okay, we're going to keep £4,000 as contingency, or that is extremely tight. We'll say £3,000 as contingency, and we'll start planning our projects with £7,000. So if eventually anything happen, we can fall back on that and use another 1,000. Not something happen again, we fall back again and use another 1,000. There's no way we can keep falling back. So even if we fall back up to 3 times, we still have something, a quality contingency plan or buffer. And that will reduce us from going to the management to complain we don't have enough money, this and that. That's why I say, if you say you don't have, it means you didn't plan well, because there's no way you can say you don't have enough budget. Before the budget comes out, there's a budget. It must be planned. All the activities must be evaluated, and we'll make sure that all the amount of money we are bringing in covers everything that we need to. So, and it can equally happen in timeline. If we have 6 months for a project, we can't plan everything on the 6 months. We can say we are going to deliver this CRM system in 4 months, although we have 6 months, but we agree to deliver it in. So 2 months becomes our contingency, timeline. If eventually we couldn't deliver in 4 months, we can fall back in 5 months. And eventually, if we eventually deliver in 5 months and equally delivers within 8,000 budgets, then all of us will get a rise immediately, promotion. That's how it happened. So that's risk mitigation. So that's how we can plan for all these, what has happened, and all the assumptions. We'll make contingencies to accommodate them. So we have assigning ownership. Everybody do not manage everybody will contribute in managing it, but we can't say all of us are managing it. There must be an owner, just like we have a task. Everybody have a task assigned to them. So we must have someone to own up every risk. Designated team member to be responsible for each risk or issue. The risk owner will monitor and report on the risk status and executions, and monitor and update regularly. We should review rate log or risk register during project meeting and update a new risk issue and dependencies as they emerge. So that's why I said in a week, we should devote one day in a week for monitoring and capturing more risk. And this is an example of the rate log here. Here we have risk, we have assumptions, we have issue, have dependencies. That's how it looks like. And we're going to look at it from a more interactive template. This is static, but this is how it looks. And this is risk register. So we see under risk register, we already capture risk ID, the description, category, unlike rate log where we capture risk on its own. You see the risk on its own, capture assumption on its own, and so risk is just an item here in risk register. But in rate log, but in risk register, risk is the everything. So rate log is a clear documentation. Maintain all record in one document, centralized document. We'll have everything in one document. Risk visibility. We have highlights of critical project risk and assign responsibility to each of them. And is a proactive way of management, enable team to identify and respond to risk before they happen, and then enhance communication. It keeps stakeholders informed on potential challenges and mitigation efforts. So, yeah. So there is what we call risk probability or priority number in risk, and is a way to decide the severity, the impact, how this happened. So to calculate it, this is the way it's being calculated. So the PRN is equal to severity, likelihood, and detectability. S for severity, L for likelihood, D for detectability. So we have to assign a scale of 1 to 5, that is severity, and then the likelihood, probability of the risk happening, 1 to 5 as well, and detectability, ability to detect the risk before it happens, on a scale of 1 to 5 as well. And then once we capture them to determine the risk PRM, we times this, and we'll get, that is the time severity likelihood and dependability. And then that is what we do to get this PRPM. And we are going to be seeing it because you are going to ask, how do we know the impact? How do we determine? We use a scale of 1 to 5. And we are going to use brainstorming to determine how to scale them when we're trying to scale them. It's not automated. But that's the way to find out how critical, how severe a risk is. I call it critical, very high, low risk, medium risk. This is the calculation to detect or find out that. If you come to our RAID log, this is our RAID log template we are going to use. Like you see here, we'll have RPM. That's risk priority number. And if you look at here, if I open it up here, you see severity is 4, likelihood is 3, and dependability is 4. And when we times them, we get 48. And we say we assign that this RPM must be a particular, give it a threshold. So this one is critical. It means it has, before it becomes critical, it has crossed a threshold. We can say is if the overall is 50, and if it crosses 40, it becomes critical. And anywhere within 25 to 40 is high. And if we say between 20 to 25 is moderate, and below that is low. So it means like this has crossed 40, it means it's critical. If this is 24, and it means this is, can say this is has not crossed 25. If it crossed 25, it can become high. But because it's below 25, give it moderate. And that's how we can get how critical all these risks can be. And if you come to here, when you are capturing a RAID, you select which one. If it's a risk you want to capture, you select a risk. If you are trying to select assumption, you select assumption. For this one, say risk. This one, we can call it anything you want. You can say dependency. It's up to you. Or you can equally call it risk. It's you that knows what you are capturing. Whether you are capturing a dependency, whether you are capturing an issue, whether you are capturing any of the risk factor, any of the RAID factor capturing. And after capturing them, it's going to come here and appear on your dashboard. Within your dashboard, you see everything you have on your dashboard. Like here, you see critical. How many critical do we have? How many high do we have? Risk. How many? At the end of the day, we'll have only 2 risks. We have 1 critical risk and 1 moderate risk. And you see that is the total of all the risks we have. And if you come here, you see assumptions, you see issues. How many issues we have? We have 1 critical issue, and that's it. Under dependency, we have only 1 dependency, and it's high. In total, how many critical RAID do we have? We have 2 critical RAID. And those 2 critical RAID is 1 risk and 1 issue. And in total, here, if you come here in total, how many do we have here in total? We have a total of 4. Total of 4 RAID in this our RAID log. That's it. So this is the dashboard. You have no control over this dashboard. It's what you capture on this log. Whatever you capture on this log, that is what appears on the dashboard. That's it. And whenever you capture a risk here, you describe the risk. Data migration failure from legacy. Impact, loss of critical customer and lead. Then it's already assigned to IT manager. And here, the priority here is critical. We've captured this as a critical, and it's still open until we resolve it. This RPM, we use brainstorm to assign the number. And after assigning the number, we times them to get the RPM. And until we resolve this, we cannot close it. Once we resolve, we come here, that is the status, and it's still open. We can say close. We close it. Anyone we resolve, we close it. So when we're looking at it, you see we're having our status is becoming clean, where we don't have so that's how we decide how healthy our project is. Now, if we close everything here, you see means that our project is very healthy. When we see green throughout, it means we are doing great. We have captured all these grade and we trash them. Everything is great. But when you come to your own and everything is, let's say, open, then what are you guys doing? How are you working on money? Everything is open. It means that this project is in a very bad shape. We have all our RAID open. We are still managing, we can't open. We can't close them. It means that they are difficult. And we should have a timeline for managing a particular team. Should agree on a timeline for managing any of this issue or risk. So whoever is the owner, we can say 1 week, highest 1 week, depending on the severity anyway, the priority. If it's critical, it should have lesser days or hours to trash. So the team will decide how many days or hour they assign to any critical or risk or this. So once it crosses that particular day, it automatically move from a hand escalation, that is escalated to the next level, because it means you might not have the capacity to manage that particular risk or issue. So that's it. That's how we use RAID and manage. You can keep capturing as many as you want, and that is RAID for you. So yeah, so like this is open. No, it's not allowed. You must have what we call service level agreements. How many days does it take? Every company has service level agreements. It's left for the team to decide to adopt a service level agreement to manage their own project risk. If we agree that after 1 week or after 3 days and a risk cannot be closed, then this risk should automatically be triggered to be managed by the project manager, not any team member. So it's now left for the project manager to escalate this to a higher authority. So that's how to use this. So I'll make this template available so we can use it. Like I said, this is where this is data source. Anything you impute here will determine what will come out on your dashboard. The dashboard will help you. If you look at the dashboard and you see a lot of critical, and there is problem for you. A lot of things are critical. Like here, we have 2 critical, which should be addressed immediately. And yes. Okay, if you have questions, we can talk about it. So I hope by now we should be able to use RAID to capture our project risk. Like if you are having a risk of timeline, we should be able. If this our project, let's say is 4 months, and we are in a third. Let's say we are in third month and we are still at the initiate stage. What is it sending us? If we are good, we should know that we're having serious challenge. There is a possibility we might not make it at the times slotted for the project, and we should be able to start working on how to achieve this. In some cases, when a team realize that they are lagging behind, a project manager can say, okay, because of this, a way to mitigate on it is that we are going to be working weekends as well to push, or we can be working overtime. So that is ways to manage such things. Overtime, weekends, and you push and you find out that you get your project where it's supposed to be. So if we don't have any questions, I will say thank you for joining tonight, and I'll see you tomorrow.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you,
All
sir.
right.
Good night.
Thank you, sir. Good night. Yeah, good night.
Thank you, sir.
All right.
Good night.
Good night. Brother, are you still with us?